Travel to the planet Satos, where you can walk through the lush forests, experience the migration of the majestic Purgil, or take the time to meditate at the ancient ruins and listen to the waves.
Oh, that is lovely.
Just get to the Anakin stuff. You leave the audience on a cliffhanger showing Anakin and then spend half of this episode with characters looking at the ocean and commenting on how Jacen Syndulla has abilities. So let's roll through these events before we get to the part that people actually care about in episode 5 of Ahsoka titled Shadow Warriors. Before Ahsoka woke up in the world between worlds and saw Anakin, she was knocked off of the cliff by Baylan Skoll during their duel before Sabine and Shin joined up with Morgan Elsbeth and traveled to another galaxy. Somehow, being within the world within worlds allowed Ahsoka to survive being underwater. Which, as a reminder, the world between worlds is a pocket dimension within the Star Wars universe that allows you to see and even reach into different points in time and space. When she was dueling Anakin, Jacen Syndulla was able to sense, or rather hear, that duel because of his Force sensitivity. This leads Hera and the X-Wings to scan the ocean and ultimately find Ahsoka and save her. Despite both Hera and Ahsoka realizing that Jacen is Force sensitive, there's still no talk of him becoming a Padawan, even though he would make a better Jedi candidate than Sabine. But I think I yammered on enough about that in my review of episode 4, so let's move on. Hera and the X-Wings end up being called back to the New Republic at the end of the episode, where Hera will stand trial and answer for her unauthorized mission, which will likely cause her to lose her rank as general. There was even a name drop of Senator Organa, who it seems was trying to buy them time with the Senate when they were on Satos. Meanwhile, Ahsoka figures out that she can use the Purgil to take her and Huyang in their ship to the galaxy that Ezra is in. Now, she admits to Huyang that she doesn't know if it'll work, but if she's willing to risk it even on a chance, why wouldn't she have done this years ago when she and Sabine were looking for Ezra? The Ghost Crew watched the Purgil take Ezra and the Star Destroyer into hyperspace. You're telling me that this is the first time someone has thought of this? And just what I've described right there was about 3/4 of the episode, so now let's talk about Anakin. In my review of episode 4, I said that someone might have pulled Anakin through a portal into the world between worlds, similar to what Ezra did with Ahsoka in Star Wars Rebels. But I don't believe this is the case. I think the answer is much simpler. Anakin is a Force ghost and he is here to finish Ahsoka's training. The lesson that Ahsoka needs to learn is that she is more than just a warrior. That she is everything that Anakin was and more. But Anakin being Anakin keeps the lesson simple.
Live. Or die.
And as the practical Jedi that he was during the war, he teaches Ahsoka through dueling. Ahsoka at first denies that Anakin has anything to teach her, so that's when he takes her back through their past. The first flashback is to the planet Ryloth towards the beginning of the Clone Wars. Now, if you're like me, you're probably wondering where this falls in Star Wars continuity. Well, given the fact that Ahsoka mentioned this being one of their first missions together, the fact that the clones are wearing Phase 1 armor, and that they're on Ryloth, I would guess that this takes place somewhere in between episodes 9 through 11 of the first episodes of the Clone Wars. Only one of those episodes focused on Anakin and Ahsoka, and it involved starship battles, not ground battles. But as Dave Filoni was the one who ran the Clone Wars and is writing this show, I'm guessing he just threw this in as a retcon. During this battle, many clones lose their lives as a result of Ahsoka's leadership, with her being a Jedi commander at the time, which leads her to question her role as both a Jedi and a commander. This flashback reflects Ahsoka's hang-ups over her role as a teacher to Sabine, which comes from her worries all the way back in the Clone Wars of whether or not she'd have anything to teach a Padawan other than fighting in a war, as the entire Jedi Order at the time was involved in the Clone Wars. The second flashback occurs at the very end of the Clone Wars during the Siege of Mandalore, which takes place during episodes 9 through 10 of Season 7 of the Clone Wars. And these episodes take place concurrently with the first and second acts of the film Revenge of the Sith, which is why Anakin doesn't recognize the battle. During this flashback, Ahsoka questions whether all she is a warrior, as Anakin trained her to be. And when Anakin tries to impart to her that she is part of a legacy and that she is more than just a warrior because he is more, she reminds him that he ended up being more powerful and more dangerous than anyone imagined, after which they start fighting again.
Live. Or die.
But this time, Anakin fights as Vader, not with the armor, but with a red lightsaber and the red Sith eyes that we saw a glimpse of in Revenge of the Sith. This fight is less a test between master and student, and more a fight to the death, But when Ahsoka gets the upper hand and has the opportunity to make the same choice that Anakin did with Dooku, she chooses life instead, to which Anakin replies with,
There's hope for you yet.
Since I'm assuming that this is Anakin's Force ghost and not just a single aspect of him, it makes sense that he has all of his memories and that he embraces both the light and dark sides of himself in his effort to teach Ahsoka. I'll admit the flashback scenes were really cool, but also jarring. Seeing the two together during the Clone Wars in live action, without Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein voicing Anakin and Ahsoka respectively, was odd. Matt Lanter voiced a much more confident and aggressive Anakin. Whoever this young actress is played an Ahsoka who is much more morose and doubtful compared to the reckless maverick that young Ahsoka was in the Clone Wars. I think if we had gotten a full hour-length episode of these flashbacks, then the two actors would have clicked a little more. Unfortunately, the Anakin and Ahsoka scenes only make up about 14 minutes of a 50-minute episode. Filoni didn't put in as many Easter eggs as I thought he would. There were a few dialogue callbacks, like,
I won't fight you.
I've heard that before.
I will not fight you, Father.
During the Mandalore flashback, Captain Rex has a single line of dialogue that Tamara Morrison voices over, but the actor doesn't make an actual physical appearance. We also get to see a live-action version of Maul's Super Commandos, which is definitely my favorite Mandalorian design of all time. Overall, it was a fun episode, and I think a lot of Star Wars fans will be happy with it, though it would have been nice if they spent less time having characters staring at the ocean. It also wasn't explained how Ahsoka arrived at the World Between Worlds. Nobody pulled her there. And usually you have to go to a special location in order to activate it. Did she just happen to fall on the right rock or spot on the ocean floor as she fell? It's very hand-wavy, which is disappointing considering that Dave Filoni created the concept. While the Anakin and Ahsoka moments were a nice break, it only puts into starker contrast how slow this plot is moving. Remember, it was only at the end of the last episode that the villains finally activated the star map and traveled to the galaxy that Thrawn is located in. And now Ahsoka is going there herself. So there are only 3 episodes left, and given the pacing so far, I can't imagine that a whole lot is going to happen. But here's hoping that I'm pleasantly surprised. You know my opinions on this episode, let me know yours in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. Thanks for watching.